Wow. I have to tell you, Tabitha Fritz literally blew my socks off. That she is such a trailblazer. You'll feel her energy, passion, education. Like, you just want to learn so much from her. And she really knows what she's talking about when it comes to cannabis. So this episode is for those that are really curious about the cannabis industry, those that are already part of that industry and want to know more. We talk about, yes, the stigmas around cannabis, edibles, what is actually legal and what's not. We talk about therapeutic benefits. We talk about women's health benefits from cannabis. I literally had zero clue. We hit some controversial topics such as sex and cannabis, and she's actually currently doing some research because there's nothing out there. We talk about cannabis and parenting, how to talk to your kids, some other stigmas that are happening out there. And then I even asked the question about, if you're a newbie and you want to dabble in this, what are some tips and some best practices? And she shares it. And honestly, there's so much more. You're going to really love this episode. And I definitely am going to have her back as a guest because I want to hear some more about her research. She really is a practitioner, but she really is an educator and fun. Literally super much fun. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. And I can't wait to hear your feedback. Welcome to the Can Innovate podcast, the first ever podcast designed to showcase Canadian thought leadership. These innovators share industry insights, entrepreneurial best practices, lessons learned, and other tips that we can incorporate right into our lives, our careers, and our businesses. So let's get inspired. So I've got a special treat, and it's a super big honor for me. I got Tabitha Fritz that's in the house with me, and she was nominated as a trailblazer that actually challenging the norms from Stephen Louis, who is both a podcast guest and a listener. We had Stephen on our podcast talking about the cannabis industry on episode 18, which actually seems like a lifetime ago, being that we're on episode probably 80 at this point. Stephen always knows the movers and shakers in the cannabis industry. And what I really love about Tabitha is that she claims that she gets to sleep soundly at night knowing that cannabis is changing the world and she's helping to make that happen. Welcome, Tabitha.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no. Well, you've got an extraordinary background and expertise. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a serial entrepreneur in the cannabis industry, and I've started a few companies. But the first company that I started, and the one that I'm most excited about, and the one I want to talk about today, is called Fritz's Cannabis Company. And we make infused edibles for Canadians. And we've been doing that since 2016. And we love it. It's very exciting. It's a very exciting place to be. It's a very exciting thing to be doing. And I really believe that we're helping to change the world and make it a better and more positive place through what we're doing.
So this is really extraordinary because I've actually had this question kind of burning in my mind for a little while. That is edibles something that we're allowed to have, or is it always just the actual pot? Like, I wasn't clear on that, the rules on that.
So there's no regulation for edibles yet. The regulations will be coming out hopefully in October. By October, we're expecting to see them soon so that producers can start making products and getting them licensed. Currently, the only legal way to consume edibles is to make them yourself from flower that has been purchased from the government. You can decarb it and infuse it into oil and make it yourself. So any of the edibles that you are able to purchase technically right now are considered illegal.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. Maybe you can give us a bit of an overview about the Canadian cannabis industry.
In terms of regulation or in terms of where the industry's at?
Both. I'm very curious about both.
Yeah, okay. So as you know, I'm sure you know that legalization of recreational cannabis occurred on October 17, 2018. That was the day that weed won. And since then, Canadian adults have been able to access cannabis for the recreational market, either through government shops or in other provinces besides Ontario, they can access them through retail shops that have been licensed by the government. Currently, flour and some oils and things like that are the only products that are available for purchase. There are many, many producers in the illicit market who are making other products available for purchase. They're pretty easy to access, either online or in different places. Some of the illicit dispensaries that are still operating throughout the Canadian market. So as those other products start to come online, topicals, edibles, things like that will be coming online later this year. Those things will be available for purchase through those retail outlets as well. So it's just sort of a rollout strategy. Health Canada wanted to make sure that they did things in a slow, sort of stable way, and make sure that they checked off all their boxes as they went along. So they're doing things slower than we'd see in other markets, like the US, for instance.
It's kind of crazy because, there's just so much curiosity about the cannabis industry, what we're doing and what we're able to do, and this phased rollout approach. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, when it was first officially legalized in October of last year, I think the website went down because there was just so many people doing it.
That's right. And orders were backed up for months, and, people didn't get their products for a long time. And it was a very exciting time, right? And as all of the legal dispensaries in Ontario start to open since April 1st, the first ones opened, and they've been opening since then. There are huge lineups on the blocks, and, people are just very excited to be part of this movement, part of this culture shift, part of this change. And it's an exciting time to be able to access legal cannabis at a retail store and not just from your dealer at a parking lot.
Oh, that's hilarious. I wouldn't even know where to find a dealer in any parking lot. So what excites you most about this kind of big, huge shift? Is there a mindset type of shift that's really happening out here?
Yes, there is a mindset shift that's happening. And what we're seeing is more and more normalization of cannabis. It's very exciting because it's moving from being seen as this thing that is a rebellious thing to do. And it's, you go smoke joints and get stoned and do all of this. And it's moving much more towards being a wellness product that people can use to improve the quality of their everyday life, right? We see people accessing CBD to help with arthritis or with seizures or, to help with sleep, and all these different wellness applications that people are now able to access this plant for and use this plant in a way that it really works with your body, right? And doesn't just try to mask or cover up symptoms, but allows your body to maintain homeostasis in a way that other products don't. The pharmaceuticals, for instance, may not be able to. But go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, this is really fascinating because I actually always thought that was just kind of two different categories, right? The recreational and medicinal. But you're looking at this wellness and therapeutic and different type of lifestyle.
That's exactly the word that we use for therapeutic, right? Because all of these categories overlap. There are people who are going to access cannabis for medical reasons who may use it recreationally sometimes as well. And recreational users may use it medicinally. But I would argue that all of those people are using it therapeutically. Because even when you're using it recreationally, you're using it to relax and to enjoy your life and to be more social and to be able to engage with other people. That's a therapeutic thing. That's an important thing to be able to do in your life. And when you're using it as a tool for helping you sleep better or for dealing with your cramps when you have your period, those things are medicinal, but they are also therapeutic benefits that you are adding into your life through a plant that is safe and non-toxic and works beautifully with the human body.
Which is really fascinating because, again, I don't think about all those types of areas, like you're saying about cramps for women, right? I would never have thought of that. What other types of areas could females or other people be utilizing it?
There's so many applications of cannabis for women, specific to women. We do know that a large proportion of the cannabinoid receptors found in the human body are found within the female reproductive organs. So the female reproductive organs are highly sensitive to cannabinoids, which means that women are able to use these products for cramps, for endometriosis, for PMS, for sex. Infused lubes are providing all kinds of benefits to women who have had painful sex or have had a difficult time connecting with their partner. There are all of these other wellness applications. I'm going to dive into a different topic a little bit here, but yeah. I've recently run a survey on my own because I was curious about sex and cannabis. And I've had over 300 respondents so far. And in the survey, I give people the opportunity to tell me their stories. And I've been reading these stories and my data that's been coming in, and it's these people who are saying, I'm able to connect with my partner in a way that I've never connected with them before. I'm able to forget about all of the things that are going through my mind all of the time and allow me to focus so that I can achieve an orgasm in a way that I never do. Or, all of these sort of things that aren't just physical, but encompass a person's entire being. It's their whole wellness piece, their whole wellness collective of a human that is able to be affected by the cannabis plant. And it's really a beautiful thing. So I would say that there's lots of applications for women, and a lot of ones that we're seeing have to do with hormonal balance and with sex and gynecological health.
This is so interesting. See, I know nothing about cannabis. I have to be honest. I'm probably the average person that really is kind of dumb when it comes to all this. But the whole thing about sex and cannabis, it just takes me back to the 60s, when they was love everywhere. So I'm like, huh.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it definitely has that sort of stereotype attached to it, right? And that's what people associate, like the free love era. And we can certainly echo that, right? I think there are a lot of pieces of that era that are good. The acceptance and the love that you feel towards other people. And there are pieces of that era that were bad that we don't necessarily want to carry over. So now, 60 years later from the 1960s, we're able to say, you know what, they have this piece right. They have the piece right that cannabis allows you to connect with yourself and with other people in a way that is powerful and important. And we can take that message and that piece and carry it over into our use of cannabis today.
And I think these edibles are going to make it even easier because you don't have to deal with that smell.
That's right. I think that edibles will be accessed by a huge percentage of the Canadian population because even, vaping flower, even if you're not smoking it, if you're using a vaporizer, it still smells and it's still heat that's affecting your throat. And it's maybe not the best way to consume cannabis, but edibles are, a much safer way to consume cannabis. There is a greater possibility of overdosing on edibles with edibles than with flower or with vaping. Because if you take too much flower, if you smoke too much or vape too much, you just fall asleep. But edibles don't kick in for, 30 minutes to 2 hours. So it's easy to go, I'm not feeling anything. I'll just eat a few more gummies. And then half an hour later, you're on the floor in a bad place. Not good. I've been there. It's not a good place.
I can totally see that. I can see that being my chocolate obsession. Just one more piece. Yeah.
It's fine. It'll be fine. An hour later, you're curled in the fetal position on the couch. I can't move. My eyes don't work.
No, but do these edibles taste like normal gummies and candies, or do they still have a bit of a other kind of aftertaste?
There's been a lot of innovations in the product market, it also for coming from the U.S. as well. And a lot of those innovations have enabled the products to taste like normal products, right? Some things you'll still get a bit of a taste of weed in them, but in general, people are using very highly concentrated oils and isolates and things like that, and there's very little taste. There's also this nano infusion technology, which allows you to infuse cannabis into water-soluble products. And there's no taste at all with that method. So there are lots of methods that allow for no taste now. You're not going to have these weedy cookies that you picture in your head. You won't taste it.
And so in your company now, you're actually producing actual edibles.
Yeah, we are. We've stopped a lot of our production on purpose. And that is because... should I share a little bit of how the story came about, and then I can sort of explain why we're there? Okay. So my husband and I we'd made edibles for a long time. They were a good way for us to use cannabis. We found that they were effective for us. We liked the effects. And I really like not smoking or vaping. I like being able to ingest my cannabis. That just works better for me. So we started making our edibles for ourselves first, and then we started making them also for our family and friends. And we realized that people liked it. People liked accessing cannabis through this way. And then May 26, 2016, the Project Claudia raids happened. I remember the date because it was the day before my daughter's first birthday. The Project Claudia raids happened in Toronto. And all of the illegal dispensaries were raided on the same day by the Toronto Police Service, who took all of the product that they had in stock and closed the doors of all of these dispensaries. And the dispensary said, well, that's fine. We'll just reopen the next day because we can make enough money to pay your fines and do that. But the thing that they did not include, when they reopened the dispensaries, were edibles. Because the Toronto Police Services had said that a big reason why they were doing these raids was to get edibles that had been produced in an unregulated, possibly unsafe way out of the dispensaries. So many of the dispensaries decided to stop carrying edibles altogether. My husband and I were concerned about this because we knew that many people were accessing those edibles either for medicinal use or for therapeutic use or for recreational use through the dispensaries. And we saw this sort of gap in the market and said, you know what, we can do this. We can do this in a way that is safe, that provides proper dosing for people, that puts nutrition facts on a label. And so we decided to start marketing our products that we had been making anyways. So we got a logo, we got some labels designed, I bought some packaging off of Uline, and we started making things. I went and got my food handler's license from the city of Toronto so that we could make sure that we were doing things in a proper way. We got a small dedicated space that we were able to use just for making edibles. And we started doing that. And our focus from the beginning was providing consumers with access to safe, accurately dosed, and reliable products. We knew that there were a lot of subpar products out there. They were being made in poor conditions, and we knew that we could do better. So we started doing that. And at first, we were trading our products on a Facebook group called Buns. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a Toronto-based Facebook group, and they just trade things. Someone will say, like, hey, I have an extra case of toilet paper. I'm in search of a rocking chair. And then they can find people to trade things with on this Facebook group. So we started trading our edibles. We said, hey, we've got these brownies that we made. We'd love to trade them. And that we would trade things like that for raw ingredients, for sugar, for chocolate, or for eggs. Or we would trade them for gift cards to buy the supplies and the inputs that we needed. So that was our first start, and it was amazing. And it provided us with a lot of feedback because the people in that community really like you to know what they think about things. So once we traded our edibles to these people, they would give us feedback on our product, and we were able to really innovate and to improve our products and to make sure that we were providing things that consumers wanted. As time went on, we also were selling in the Toronto's green markets, which were an underground cannabis market that provided consumers with access to edibles. It was all edibles producers in the beginning, and that's where we were getting our direct access to consumers. It allowed us to really speak directly to the consumer, to find out what they thought about things, to get feedback on our products, to find out what they wanted, what they were looking for, what they cared about. And it really enabled us to get this grassroots, like on the ground level connection with our consumers, to really understand them and understand what they wanted and what they were looking for. And then we started actually moving into a more normalized marketplace. We started vending at the Kensington flea markets in Kensington Market in Toronto. And that allowed us to have access to consumers who didn't know anything about cannabis, who were seeing these things for the first time and answering their questions and finding out what they thought about things. And it was a huge opportunity to educate people, which was amazing. And that's one of my favorite things to do. But what we really noticed was that people were starting to care more and more and more about CBD. They would come up and say, hey, I heard CBD can help my grandmother's arthritis, or CBD can help me sleep. And so people were wanting to access CBD and access it in lower doses that we were providing to the people before at the green markets. So the product mix really started to change at that point. We became more focused on CBD, and like our social media began to reflect that. We started making posts about the benefits and the features of CBD over THC. And we really, as a brand, became more of a wellness focus instead of about getting people high. Like our focus changed. It became more about accessing the therapeutic market and therapeutic customer. So after October 17, what we really noticed was that the market started to get flooded. The illicit market started to get flooded with edibles producers. There were lots and lots of edibles producers out there, and many of them were differentiating very well. They would take one product that we were making and they would do it extremely well. They would package it beautifully and just sell only that product. And so through that, what we noticed was that we would either have to do the same thing or we would have to figure something else out. We had a variety of products available, and we thought we could either, double down here in the illicit market, put a whole lot of money into improving our products, improving the packaging, improving the branding, and double down on the illicit market. Or we could say, you know what, let's take the market information that we have gotten, let's take the expertise that we have developed, and let's couple that with our business acumen, and let's figure out a way to take this brand and this company to the legal market. So that's where we're at now. We've paused almost all of our operations. We do still make a few products for some people who are accessing, especially our CBD products. We have a number of patients who are accessing products through us. We still make them products. But for the most part, we've shut down most of our operations, and we are in the process of applying for a license to have a legal facility to manufacture edibles after they become legal under Health Canada's legislation. So that's where we're at now, and that's kind of the story of how we got there.
It's such a fascinating journey. Like, you really have been like trying, testing, and tweaking and learning and adapting, and it's amazing. Like, you're really like a pioneer in this area. Like, you're really trying to drive it forward. It's just fascinating because, you know, people don't like to kind of venture until someone else has done it, but you're really paving the way.
You know what that is? I would say that's one of my number one personality traits and always has been. I like to go first. I do not like to be behind anyone else. I am walking the fastest. I am in front. You can follow me if you want to. It doesn't matter, but I'm going first and I'm doing this. That's just me. That's me as a person. So for me to find this industry, it's the most exciting thing. Because everything I do is first. It's amazing. I
love it. That's why Stephen calls you a trailblazer, because you are paving the road. Like, it's amazing. And you know what's fascinating about the CBD oil that you're talking about? I actually have a bit of an autoimmune condition, and I actually went to my doctor and I said, listen, I've been reading on so many forums about how CBD oil really can help things. And so I said, how do I get it? And he says, I have no clue.
I think you can actually buy it on the OCS's website, because there are licensed producers who are making it, and it is available. So you can access it through the OCS. I don't know if you can go to any of the retail stores and get it. I don't know if they're carrying it. But also, if you want, after this podcast, you could just send me an email and I could probably get you some.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Hey, that's a good question, too, because do you have any tips or advice for a newbie that wants to kind of dabble and try in this area?
Yeah, CBD is a great place to start, right? You're not going to have any of the intoxicating effects that you have with THC. You might get a body buzz with it, but you're not going to have that like head high. You're not going to be high. You're not going to be out of control. You're not going to be spinning. CBD does not do that. THC does that. So if someone is very new to cannabis, I would recommend that if you aren't able to access CBD oil, find a strain of cannabis flower that is very high in CBD and very low in THC, and start with that. That's a good place to start. And then as you feel comfortable, you can change the ratio of your product and increase the THC and decrease, the CBD at the same time. So that's my recommendation. Start with CBD and then gradually increase the percentage of THC.
Interesting. Oh, this is so informative. Like, you really are an educator. I can just see all the stuff that you're teaching.
Yeah, I love to make people smarter about their bodies and about themselves. And anytime that I can do that, I'm happy.
Oh, yeah. There's so much stigma to even still talking about cannabis still, too, right? It's still kind of like one of those topics you're kind of like, do I bring it up or don't bring it up? Like, how are people going to react?
It's true. There's so much stigma. Recently, my daughter's in preschool, and recently she had a little friend at school that we went and did things with her friend and her friend's parents. We would go to little activities, the science center or rock climbing wall. And then her parents found out that we work in the cannabis industry, and they will not speak to us anymore. They won't allow our daughters to hang out. We see them when we're picking up our kids at the same time. It's awkward. It's like, well, when you see like an ex-boyfriend and you're like, oh, hey, I gotta go, right? It's like that. And I'm sorry that you're uncomfortable with the fact that I work with cannabis, but you know what? It doesn't affect the fact that I'm an amazing mother to my daughter, that I'm a good person, that I'm a member of my community. And so even if you think that about me, I'm just going to live my life right here and let you see that just cannabis does not make me a bad person. I'm just going to live that example and let people see it. That's really the only way to break down stigma. And you just have to decide you don't care and just go forward.
That's amazing, because I know it's a controversial topic about cannabis and parenting and all that, and you've been a really big, huge advocate about educating people about how they could talk about it honestly with their kids, and how it can be part of a healthy lifestyle.
That's right. I think A lot of times people are reluctant to incorporate cannabis into their life if they're a parent, right? They have this idea that it's the same as them, like when they smoked joints in college and they got high and they were in the park with their friends. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? Like, we're adults now. We can use cannabis the way that adults use cannabis. We can use it for wellness. We can use it for therapeutic applications. If you're an experienced cannabis user, then perhaps you smoke a joint before you interact with your kids because it makes you a better parent. I wouldn't recommend that for new users. But, if someone's experienced, I asked my stepkids the other day, I said to them, do you guys like me better when I talk to you before I've had cannabis or after I've had cannabis? And they said, after. You're much nicer. I was like, all right, thank you for being truthful with me. And that's true, right? I'm chiller. I'm easier to get along with. I laugh more. So, there are certainly, it's not about getting high. Again, it's about finding a way to incorporate this plant that helps you achieve homeostasis in your life in a way that works for you. That's really what it's about.
I love all this. I think you're such a fascinating person. I mean, you talk about things in so many different dimensions. And so honestly, like, we talked about therapeutic, we talked about sex and cannabis, cannabis and parenting, the women's benefits of using it. Like, it's amazing how well-rounded and well-versed you are of this topic.
You know what? Through a lot of my work, I've started a few different cannabis businesses, and one of them makes infused products for women. One of them supports women in the cannabis industry. I have this edibles company with my husband. I also do some consulting on my own, and I'm a cannabis educator. So through all of those things, and through myself personally, when I am making a product or a service for a person, I want to understand as much about that product, that service, that person, the market, the industry as much as I can. And that having that context allows me to be as effective as I can be at whatever it is that I'm doing. So I love to do research. I love to find out more. And we don't have a lot of cannabis research. So that was why I made this sex and cannabis survey, because I couldn't find the answers that I wanted. So I said, forget it. I'm just going to go find them myself. Put this on Twitter, have a few influencers blast it out, and I'll get the answers myself. So as I've been developing products and services over the last few years in the cannabis industry, I've done a lot of research to go along with those things. And I use Evernote. I don't know if you use that tool at all, but I use Evernote to collect everything that I've gathered online. And so I have these vast notebooks full of documents and of research and of things that I've come across. And I want to share that information with other people so that they can be informed and they can make their own best decisions and do the things that are best for them and for their bodies. I just have this burning desire to help other people be better and help other people be smarter and make their own best decisions. And this industry has given me such a platform to do that in so many different dimensions, in so many different things that I care about. It's really been an incredible journey over the last few years to be able to learn that information and learn it in a way that enables me to share it with other people in a way that they can understand.
Well, anytime you want to come back onto the podcast to educate us about something like the results from the sex and the cannabis survey, any other thing, come on over. We're definitely going to want to learn from you. Yeah,
for sure. We could definitely talk about it.
We can make you a definite regular, because I think there's a lot of open questions that people have about all these different things. And I really think our listeners, after listening to how approachable you are, friendly, fun, all of those things, they're definitely going to want to connect with you, follow you, learn from you. So how can they do all that?
So you can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. My handle is Penelope's Wrist. That's from an old business I had a long time ago, making jewelry. I just never changed the handle. And also, if your listeners want to take the sex and cannabis survey themselves and add to the data, it is open until April 30. And they can access that at bit.ly/cannasexsurvey.
Perfect. You know what I'll do is I'll put all the links in the show notes. And what I'll do is also, with the publication schedule, I will swap out one of my episodes for yours so we can make sure that people get time to put the stuff in.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I love this. No, it's a great topic. It's a really uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. They are definitely curious about it. They don't know where to ask. And I think you've just opened up a really amazing can of worms and a place where they can actually feel free to ask the questions.
Yeah, please. If you have a question, ask. DM me if you're not comfortable asking it in public. That's totally cool. And if I don't have an answer, I will work on getting you one.
Love it. Tabitha, you've been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to get you back on, and hopefully we'll be able to meet face-to-face soon.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you so much, Sabra. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for joining and listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, please share with your friends and colleagues. You can share on social media, the email link, the newsletter, and so on. Let's continue to support these Canadian innovators and help them really grow into bigger brands. Awareness and knowledge is totally key. Anyways, I can't wait to talk to you next week. Cheers.